It had kind of come from an interest in CB radio. Was that your interest, or was that Mark's interest?
No, that was me as a kid listening. You know, for some reason I was always interested in sort of radio, and my father bought me a shortwave radio when I was little, and my brother and I would stay up late at night just seeing if we could tune in to amateur radio conversations or the BBC back when you could only get it via shortwave, and also listening to trucks late at night talking to each other on there was a highway that ran near our house, so we'd listen to trucks talking, and so those sort of disembodied fragments of conversation received in that way it's just always been something that I like to listen to. I guess it's just a curiosity of what are, there's all this communication going through the air, what are people talking about? And so listening to those kind of came from that place of just wanting to know with chat, what are people talking about right now? What is all that chatter and buzz about at this moment?
Which are, for the most part, dissociated from the actual people or the usernames or whatever, so it's a kind of anonymized sort of thing. And we could, in principle, run it in archive mode and go back since the beginning and play again. But like I said, it won't be as if it won't be the exact replay. It would just be replaying the same data and hopefully give you the same sense of what was going on at that moment.
Got any plans to allow the public to ask questions to the ear?
Questions in what sense?
Well, you ask a question, it gives you the random answer.
No. I mean, we don't have. Well, maybe Ben has a plan. I don't.
Okay, thanks.
The movable type piece takes a very different feed of data. It feeds off of the news itself coming from the Times. So we get a feed of news stories, up to the minute news stories. We get a feed of we get a feed of the log files, so we can see the kinds of pages or stories that people are reading, and then we get a feed from the search engine, so we see the kinds of things that that people are browsing for or searching for, and all of that gets wrapped up into 15 or 16 different scenes at the moment that represent different aspects of the news. There's some of the things that we did in Listening Post sort of hold up, like at least one of the scenes where we contrast quotes taken from the day's paper that, and we organize those based on who said what, like I this and you that and we this and they that. But for the most part, we found that the things that worked in Listening Post don't work very well for the data from the Times. And the Times, in fact, gives us the opportunity to do a whole lot more language processing. So we can parse the news stories, we can extract, like really understand in some computational sense what the stories are all about, and with that extra level of information can tell a story about the news that's a little bit deeper perhaps than what we can tell with Listening Post, which is in some sense all about pattern matching. Without understanding what was being done, the effect is a kind of sort of strange mishmash of political things, and I don't know. I think it works even if you don't quite know what the algorithm is. There's one that has it's a series of. It starts slowly with text that scrolls on each screen, tick 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 tick, and then it locks in, and you hear a tone, and then the voice narrates it. And that one's trying to build up clusters of text that are all about the same topic. So it's doing kind of a dynamic cluster thing. And then, you know, the others, like I said, the others have, I mean, yeah.
Mark and Ben, we've got to wind up here at the Takeawayfestival in London. Thank you very much for being with us from your different locations. It's been a real sort of addition to kind of understanding the I am sequence, Ben and Mark. Does that relate at all to you to the Allen Ginsberg poem? You know, where he says he just rearranges I am, that, I am, and just takes about 5 words and keeps rearranging the order of that sequence. Has that occurred to you, the similarity?
I don't actually know that. Do you, Mark?
Yeah, I do. I've seen it, but I don't know that that's what. I don't know that. I think because it came, like, the reason we put this in, or the reason that we were led to it, the kinds of things we were doing to the data to lead us to this were sort of orthogonal to that. So somehow, you know, you start to see these things appearing and you make connections, but I think in our process that's sort of an after the fact sort of thing. I think we really wanted to know, was there structure? I mean, what led us initially was just, was there anything that you could say in common about what all these people are saying? And the problem, I think, in a way, is that there's so little grammar and there's so little spelling and there's so little punctuation that you can't peer very far into their phrases without it going all chaotic. And so to start to look at the first few words, like, are they referring to themselves or to other people? And then are there maybe common verbs? Or, I mean, as you know, it's inevitably you start sort of just peeling in. And so we could only really get a few words in before it went sort of pear-shaped. So we ended up, you know, it was, so we were led to a different place. But yes, I mean, I think a lot of connections like that can be made after the fact for sure.
Okay.
I am is also, I think, the most commonest phrase in English language pop songs, especially Willie Nelson, apparently.
Piece and getting closer to the piece. So thank you for that, and thank you for your involvement in this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Now what do we do?
So
we put the piece up, and then it goes back into the box for a year, and then we put it up again. And every time we put it up, I think Mark and I both have this feeling like, oh God, is it all going to be different now? You know, the world has changed, and now we have blogs and Facebook. You know, who's left chatting? But somehow there's still, it hasn't transformed fundamentally. There's still lonely people out there looking for hot ladies, and I think in one form or another that's always going to be, you know, it's like the drone that underlies the background static of the chat world. You know, any hot ladies want to chat? That was we heard that a lot, certainly back in 2001, and it still resonates in there today. But there's, you know, people talk about what's going on, I think, to a large degree too, and that also doesn't change. There hasn't been considerable obscenity, all kinds of lewd language. After 9/11, there was horrible hate speech on the thing, all kinds of just really nasty and disturbing stuff. But at the same time, it's. I think people understand that it's a reflection of the broad diversity of what people are saying. There's also an effect where, you know, in the majority of chat rooms, I think there's a kind of community self-censorship or something. You know, you'll get booted off of most chat rooms if you start just spouting off vile language, and so that has the effect that you know, we get the residual effects of that kind of self-censorship